Hi there. Thanks for joining us again. It's another episode of our Friday Night Spiritual Insights with Michael Mirdad. So thanks for joining us. Today, it looks like we're going to talk about relationships more or less to one degree or another, but just not in the sense that you might be used to hearing the usual blah, blah, blahs about relations. That's not my style. So the first thing I want to share, it's all about relations, but a few different topics, I guess, based on different things people had asked. I just finished in my 4-week online course on healing the heart and soul. So that's inspiring some of what I want to share. And then I'm often inspired by sessions, private sessions, and people's questions, and people email things. But, a lot of times it's also just kind of spontaneous. So it's a mixture of where we're going to go. But today, relationship oriented in the sense that we'll start with this. First, remember this. After healing, any significant venture you make into healing, healing issues, healing the past, recovery work, family of origin work, codependence work, whatever it is, when you do a lot of work, it sort of easily sticks a little bit. Like all of a sudden we become our 12-step program, we become these things. It's almost like it becomes our identity. And that's partly okay, but sometimes not if it's overdone. So what I'm sharing is simply that, to be careful that when you do healing work of whatever kind, even loss of loved ones or whatever it happens to be, don't drown in it. Don't get lost and absorbed in it. Always be aware that you are choosing to go into a healing and capable of choosing when to exit a healing. Not exit in a harsh way, but and in a cut way, but rather emerging from a healing period, phase, or whatever, because you want to identify with the new you, not the old you. So please remember, in your relationship with yourself, in your relationship with your healing, keep it in mind that I need to become the new me. So yes, do your healing and even have it as a backup plan and a maintenance program. Always come back to the maintenance program now and again. It's beautiful. It's necessary. We should all have some form of a means of accessing our tools to be able to do some work when something comes up. That's how it's done. But we don't just become, because then you sort of become one of those people that does nothing but walk around and pick on food, picking on people, telling them what food to eat, picking on people, telling them, have you done your this yet? Are you in the program? It's almost like a fundamental Christian, a fundamental recovering person, a fundamental healing person. And people get annoyed, and you also turn people off to things that could really, really benefit them. So just keep it in mind that, for now, let's let that be. I'm saying this to folks that took my class and also other folks. Remember this when you do your healing work. It's a phase. Keep it as in the back pocket on an as needed basis. I'll access those tools or the maintenance program, but that's about it. All right. Now, the next is when it comes to relationship with others, a question that commonly comes up is the question of trust. Do we trust? If we meet somebody, aren't we supposed to trust them? If we've grown spiritually, we don't want to be the opposite, distrusting. So it must mean that we're supposed to be trusting. And that's very, very tricky stuff, guys, because those are still dualistic, meaning real extreme. So trusting doesn't mean you leap off the cliff, blind trust, blind allegiance, not in anything. God, don't do it in military, don't do it with religion, don't do it with spiritual teachers, don't even do it with a book. Don't assume somebody says this book changed my life. You must read it and it'll change yours. Don't assume, just relax. So forget the absolute trust. And even with God, as Buddha said, absolute trust in God, yes, but you trust what's working. When we say trust in God, be careful we're not mixing it with religion. Trust in God that there is a God. Trust in God that God loves you. Absolutely trust that God loves you. Yes. So we're not talking about blind trust in religion as a form of God. And yet the opposite, distrusting, scrutinizing everything, skeptical about everything. And some people justify it and say, well, wait, I should be, because that's free will and I have to take care of myself. And if I don't take care of myself, who's going to take care of me? There's all kinds of amazing verbiage around ego that makes us get away with, being in our ego. So we do things like that. We do this, well, I'm just doing what it seems right to protect myself. And, that's wounding talking. So don't be overly skeptical, scrutinizing. It's kind of weird. It's kind of an uncomfortable thing when people are watching you, looking at you under a microscope all the time. Can they trust you? Your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your partner, whatever they are, your parents. When people are constantly watching you, there are religious people that are constantly on alert. It's just not a peaceful thing. It's disconcerting. It makes you feel odd. Like in many horror movies, how people say, I feel like somebody's watching me. Obviously, they don't mean, and it feels so blissful, right? They're saying this feels weird. And so just imagine how there is a creating of an anxiety inside when you are watching people. First of all, you have to be anxious to be watching them under that microscope. And you are going to be anxious if they're watching you all the time. So it's kind of like, trust me or don't trust me. Let's get it over with. That's how I feel about it. And it doesn't have to be blind trust, but if you have an issue where you might not know if you can trust, just ask. And then if you can't trust my answer, you probably shouldn't be with me as a partner, as a spiritual teacher, or whatever, right? So think about just rational thinking like that. Just instead of playing games, let's get to it. You want to trust me or don't trust me? What are we doing? And, people will respond to that. Okay, you're wanting me to trust you. I don't know if I can. And then you can say, instead of, get lost, you can say, what can I do? Have I done something to cause you to not trust me? And then talk about it. And if talking about it doesn't resolve it, maybe you need some further healing or to part ways. But it's so cool. It's so beautiful. When you have healthy relationships, you can turn any relationship can be turned into soulmate relationships. I know some people would like to think that a soulmate relationship is special. It isn't. It is in the sense that it's unique and rare, but any relationship can be turned into one, as can twin souls and so forth. It's all choice. And if you're not a healthy person, and if you're not a person who is ready to trust and really love and let go, not in a careless way, but let go to a feeling of communication and care and love and so on, then these things aren't going to happen. There's a curious statement that Jesus made once when he was talking to the people of Israel. And, they were acting a little bit hard on him. They were kind of like, you can't do this and you can't do that. And there are rules that we follow and we know best because we're people of Israel. And Jesus said, God can make a rock into an Israelite. So knock off the entitlement stuff. I'm paraphrasing, but he said, knock it off, guys. Don't act like just because you're a descendant of Abraham that you're somehow better than anyone else. Because if you're a child of Abraham, a descendant of Abraham, and you act like an idiot, then you're nothing. And if you're a child of non-Abraham, somebody else, a child of whatever, a turnip, and you have good integrity and love, then you're a master. You're a child of God. So it's choice. I know that people would rather think it comes from the religion you chose, because some religions say only our religion has the answer. Some people say only our race is the chosen race. Jesus doesn't agree. He tells you blood doesn't mean crap. Blood is blood, spirit is spirit, and he says figure out which one you want to follow. Blood is just blood. That which is flesh doesn't mean anything. And I've seen people get irate about that, even in my own family. I've seen people get irate about that idea, that notion, and it's the truth. It's, that which is flesh is just illusion. It's flesh. It doesn't matter at all, other than to really flesh-oriented humans. Spirit is spirit, which matters to spirit. And that is all that does matter. So, keep in mind that soulmates and twin souls, those concepts, they are chosen. And some people say, no, it just happened by luck or accident, or, it's very romanticized to say that. But you have to have earned it on some level. And I'm not trying to make it sound like you have to earn it like you're not good enough. And unless you have that, then you've proven you're good enough. You can be a master and be alone. You can be a master and have a twin soul relationship. You can be a master and do this and a master and do that. There's no external thing that defines your consciousness. It's your consciousness that defines the other. And some of us have a holy consciousness and choose to be in partnership. And some of us choose not to be. It really doesn't matter as long as you're being true to whatever feels right for you as the master, the light, and so on. So, it gets to this idea of trusting. But remember, guys, when I talk about trust, I'm not talking about just leaping out. I'm saying learn to trust the trustworthy parts of people. So, and it happens all the time, and it becomes so natural that you don't even know you're doing it, and you should be practicing that. So, trust in the trustworthy part. So if somebody says to me, I don't understand what you're saying, can you explain it again? I'm trusting in what they're asking, and they're sincere in their asking. So I'm loving them enough to try to conform what I'm saying to a pattern of speech or whatever it is that's going to work for them. And you're trusting that person to get it, and they're trusting you to do your best to help them get it. Your children trust you to raise them the best you can and not be abusive. There's all kinds of obvious things that we can do as people to demonstrate love for one another. But underneath it all, believe it or not, there's this concept of trust. Because if I can say I love you, but I don't trust you, do I really love you? If I say I trust you, but I don't love you, do I really trust you? These concepts go together. You can't really separate them. Trust, though, is a really interesting way to test whether you truly do love a person spiritually. Do I trust, oh no, I love you, but I just don't trust you. I've even heard people say things like that to each other. I love them, I just don't trust them, So be really eyes wide open. Jesus says, be as wise as serpents. It's not wrong to say, gosh, it just doesn't feel right to trust that person. If you're not trusting them because you think they're bad or evil, then you might be off into judgment. If you say, it doesn't seem like it's the greatest good to extend this trust, the trust such as, I'm going to tell my flaming alcoholic partner that I need them to do me a favor and take this truckload of alcohol, beer, whatever, kegs, and whatever, off to a party for me, drop it off, and be okay with that. Technically, I would be wrong for putting them in the position. And if they failed, that's really greatly my responsibility, because I knew that that's not a level of trust that they were able to keep. Even if they said, oh, I think I can do it. You know better. So it's really a strange concept, but it's not unlike doing something as objective and clear and loving as saying to somebody, who's just getting off crutches. You don't just say, well, here, let me have your crutches and just start running. You would trust that they would like to. You can trust them that they would love to be able to, but you trust that they might only get a couple steps, and you're there to catch them when they fall. It's kind of hard to explain, and yet it's quite simple, believe it or not. It's just you're trusting the trustworthy parts. Do not trust the ego in people. Do not trust your, whatever they are, parents, child, partners, friends, employees, or whomever. Do not trust their egos ever. And if you don't know the difference between trusting their soul and their ego, you're likely to create more problems for yourself. And of course, blame them for it. But it's important that we go, oops, what can I learn from that? Well, it's not my fault, it's their fault. No, wait. Be humble. What can I learn from that? And wow, I see it. It's like in the 12-step program when you say things like, where was I self-serving? Where was I maybe going a little too far? Where was I thinking I was trying to do good, but maybe it wasn't the best thing for me to trust this person in this way or that way? And then people, what they'll do is they'll say, that's it. I trusted them. They let me down. Be careful and sit and look at it first. They may have let you down. But did you have an agenda? Did you trust their ego by accident instead of their soul? So trusting their soul is like this. It's like saying your child is into bad addiction, let's say. First of all, I trust that God is somewhere, somehow watching over them. I trust that that person, my child, is somehow on their own path and they have their own lessons. I trust that. I also trust that they have free will and they can heal. They can come out of this. That's all trustworthiness. It's worthy of my trust. Believe it or not. Some of it may, you may go, no, you can't trust this or that. And addiction ruins people and they can't be trusted. Not true. I just shared examples of me anyway. If I were in that situation, I would know what to trust. Now, here's what not to trust. If they are, your child or whomever, a flaming addict of some kind, and then you say, well, let's say the addiction involves, deceptions and secrets and theft and things that it sometimes does, then if I put them in the position to trust them in those areas, shouldn't I know better? But I didn't know. I didn't know addiction led to those kinds of things. Oh, then it sounds like I might have been a little too naive. Maybe I needed to learn that, and maybe I need to consider going to a CODA meeting or some other kind of meeting, child of alcoholics or whatever, children of alcoholics, whatever might have fit my own lesson. So I hope this is making sense because it's really trying to explain that don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Don't live in black and white thinking. Black and white thinking is one of the primary symptoms or pieces of one of the roots of all forms of addiction, including codependence. It means when we tend to think everything's so absolute, black and white, we're probably leaning towards a tendency, propensity, vulnerability towards dysfunction and dysfunctional relationships. So think it through. Trust, take it to another level. Don't, I've met my soulmate, and because they're my soulmate, I'm going to automatically trust. Think it through. Pace your relationship. Walk yourself through. Take your time. If you don't know what to trust, here's another criteria to check out. I am willing to trust and develop it over time, as opposed to I'm going to automatically not trust. See, or I'm going to automatically trust. Instead, my intention with a person is let's assume the best, be as, gentle as doves and assume the best, Jesus said. But he said, but be as wise as serpents, which means assume the best, do your best to do that, but be prepared that if something goes wrong, if something's off, recalibrate. That's all. So if it's just as, in a sense, it's as simple as where I started a moment ago when I said, if I'm teaching, talking about a certain topic and somebody says I don't get it, I don't have to say I can't trust them to be intelligent enough to get it. They are intelligent enough. Am I intelligent enough to change my wording to fit what they need to hear? So I can adapt a bit, make micro adjustments to find how you can trust the person. So that's what's really cool about this, because in a sense, you're able to say, even if I can't trust you seemingly, can we find a way for me to indeed trust you? That's kind of like, it's so brilliant to say, I want so badly to trust you, I'm willing to figure out a way to do so in some measurable dose. And so instead of accepting a failure, black and white, I'm only going to insist on something positive, something that's growing. So we grow our trust in each other. And this goes for anything you're doing. You go to a doctor, you get a shot, they didn't quite, or they were taking blood. They weren't as gentle as they were sometimes. So, that hurt a little. Does that mean never again am I going? I understand. But guess what? What is talking? God? No, your pain. And I don't want pain to dictate my trust level, because my trust level determines my quotient of love, my quantity of consciousness of love. And if I sit back and go, well, I would love if people were more lovable, and they would be more lovable if they were more trustworthy. And here's my criteria for trustworthy. They need to do everything just perfect all the time, etc. That is actually not healthy boundaries, nor it's not what looks like healthy boundaries. It isn't, even if you call it that. Well, I have the right to determine, yes. Go ahead, shout that. Get on a soapbox and shout it. Go outside, shout it from a window, a 3-story building, and shout it down to the street. That's great. Shout it, make it clear to everybody that that's how you want to be. But do not call yourself God in that moment, and don't call yourself healthy, because it's wounding that's talking. And on that note, I did say, I also want to mention about relationships, because, people are still calling and writing in, pretty consistently, and that will happen because relationships are the primary and fundamental place that we work out all our stuff. So, relationship is going to be the number one arena for everything on planet Earth. Even if you're dealing with alcoholism, that is a relationship you're having with alcohol. If you have poor health, you're having a relationship with your health, your lack of health, or your body. Everything's relationship, believe it or not. So, folks, they want to know, sometimes about the old saying, should I stay or should I go? And there's so many pieces to that. And I've talked about that in so many ways, and I don't want to repeat. But, just some essentials to keep in mind. When you say, and I get this a lot from people, I found my soulmate, but I guess not, it wasn't them, and so on. Just stop the quest for the perfect someone. I've said this so many times, but man, stop the quest. Because when it lets you down, and it likely will, especially when you've already said they need to be something that seems by definition somehow perfect, or saving, it's going to save me, it's going to be my wow factor relationship. As soon as I put that on a person, they're likely, idols fall, right? So they're likely going to slip in some way. It's better for me to affirm my own, I feel so great. Like I feel somewhat together. Wow, this feels great. And if I meet people, they're probably going to reflect how I'm doing. If I'm off a little, oops, that'll be magnified through that person. I don't have to hate them. I don't have to date them. Just no hate, no date. I'm good. But I can do either one. I could choose to hate. Is that the best choice? I could choose to date. I could choose to marry them. I could choose to try to make them into life mates. It's just not advisable. Just sit still and relax. Stay in center rather than in motion of drama. And so, people get into the relationship and soulmates and what can I do and how do I know if it's them and on and on and on. All those words, if you listen carefully, it still denotes some desperation, and it may not go anywhere good when you're in that kind of a state of mind. So center first, and then, so I meet somebody. And of course, there's also some of us who are already in a relationship wondering what to do with it. But if we were going to meet somebody, if they're not into the healing path and the spiritual path, then don't expect much more than an unconscious human. That's it. Now, here we go back to trust again. I trusted that they were my soulmate and that they were going to be spiritual. Really? Did they say that? And if they did, they might have been deceptive. But a lot of folks, they're not even getting those words from somebody. They're just assuming. So you're trusting in your own projection of what you want them to be. Talk to them. Are you into healing? Yeah. And you see the little doubt, talk about it. Find out, really, what kind of healing? Reiki, or are you talking about psychotherapy? What are you into? And when they roll their eyes, when they hem and haw, and sometimes you can even tell when they're just bullshitting you and pretending to be into stuff to impress you so that you don't leave, just do your best to watch. But when you don't catch it, you're going to say, they pulled the wool over my eyes. That could be true. They may have been intending to do that. Don't forget, however, why did you have enough wool laying around to be pulled over your eyes? Okay? just be willing to say, because often what happens is this, you could say, God, I just kind of so badly wanted it to happen that I ignored some of the signs. I ignored some of the, signs that this person was maybe a rageaholic or an addict or, whatever else it may have been, then just take responsibility. My bad. And there's sometimes we do that just because we're lonely, we want affection. I mean, God, the number of people I have met in my years that have said, in sessions and workshops that they kind of knew it wasn't right, real and all that, but they just wanted, tactile touch, affection, and it's just weird. Because, it's possible that a giant crazy bear will give you some touch before it eats you and chews you up, spits you out, throws you around, mauls you. Really, what do you want? How badly do you need that tactile energy? Be careful, guys. Look at what it is and what it's about. Why do I need that so badly that I'm willing to sacrifice myself for it? So be careful. So in relationships, it's, are you on the healing path and the spiritual path? I'm in the spiritual path. I don't really think healing's necessary. Bam, run. Not because they're bad, but because you said you wanted healthy. Now, if you say I don't want healthy, great. Hell, anybody will do. Hi, are you into, why even ask them? Are you into healing and spirituality? Oh no, I hate that stuff. Yeah, me too. Then just hang out with people that are just as nuts and, be miserable together or falsely happy together. Just do that. But if you're claiming and sincere when you say, no more settling, I want healthy. And if you claim, I want a soulmate, technically that is synonymous with healthy. So get out of the concept of soulmate if you don't know how to pace yourself and choose healthy, because it can't coexist. So, the two different things can't coexist. You gotta not be contradicting yourself. I want soulmate, but not healthy. You can't do that. They're mutually exclusive. If I want soulmate and I mean it, then I mean healthy. If I want healthy and I mean it, it'll probably end up as a nice soulmate kind of partnership. But it depends on how vigilant I am for this. And I'm going to say healing path and spiritual path. The reason I'm emphasizing that, they can't just do one. There are people that are into, I'm totally into healthiness. I hike all the time. I climb mountains. Look at me, I'm nice and fit. But I don't really believe in that spiritual stuff. Do not say, I'll introduce them to that. I'll change them. Don't. It's just don't. Call it a date. If that's what you want to do, if you're going to bargain at all, just bargain for a date. Don't bargain a life mate spot for something like that, and vice versa. Not, somebody that says spiritual but not into healing. Do not settle under any circumstances. So get to the point where you realize your value and just say, you know what? I just can't even imagine ever settling again. And I know some of us we have tangible reasons to settle, like low income, and what are you going to do when you retire if you're older without somebody to share the bills and all that? You know what? You can have friends. I think if I were in a situation like that, I would probably say, well, geez, I wonder if there's other people dealing with that, and we can just kind of have housemates. But be careful, because housemates, like any other form of relationship, also are relations. And all of a sudden you find out, there's a saying that a friend of mine used to use, if you ever want to lose a friend, move in with them, because of the misery you cause each other, the projections. So, you have to kind of figure it out. But in a way, it's kind of like, I think there's a beautiful thing that comes with imagining people sharing space together as friends. But God, we all claim to be so spiritual, but I rarely have heard of housemates succeeding. They flip out. If whoever has the contract on the house throws the others out, the others do this and that. And, there's such crazy behavior. Living in Sedona, Sedona's a very transient place. A lot of people come and go, and lots of renting and rentals. And cohabitating, and so I've never seen a place as much as it is here. But with that comes a lot of landlords that have horror stories about tenants, and tenants that have horror stories about landlords, and it's like, wow. So it's kind of it's kind of strange. So, can you find friendships? Create something, create sanity, create something, create healthier friends, healthier partnerships, develop better trust and trustworthy friends. Don't create people that are so off that they can't be trusted in any way and then blindly trust them and then blame them. Again, I've said it before, you're partly responsible. So just start over and say, you know what? I'm going to not only have done healing in my life, I'm going to use it as a maintenance program. It'll be on my tool belt. I'll pull it out every so often. But I also want to start identifying with my healthy self. To identify with my healthy self is not just sitting around affirming I am healthy or visualizing, laws of attraction. Here we go again. It's all crap if you're not in your right mind. So I have to be sane. I have to be spiritually healthy. And I am ready for partners and friends. Really, I'm open to that if there are people that would like to share healthiness. I would like people that are financially, psychologically, spiritually, mentally healthy. Physically or whatever else, energetically healthy. Not perfect, just on the healing path, pretty well along the path. Maybe not beginners. Now, it's okay if somebody's a beginner on the path, but I have to ask myself if I can afford a beginner on the path, because if they're beginners and they make mistakes, can I handle it? Am I capable of carrying that extra, issue? If not, then I better be careful. If I feel like well equipped to handle some stuff like that, then great. Somebody's kind of new on the path, okay. So keep it in mind. You create your own reality, and that includes friendships. And for me, it's I would just put things to the test if I were you, but that's just me. If I'm not sure, ask. Where's this going? What is this about? Are you into the same things or not? The challenging relationships, friends or partnerships, are when we knew them before we got into healing and spirituality, and then we made changes. That's really challenging, because often we say, gosh, my partner just won't join me in healing or on the spiritual path. And as a counselor, I don't say, oh, darn it, those bad people. What I say is, well, remember, you made the changes, not them. So you owe them an apology by saying, we got together based on A, B, and C, and now I've been expecting X, Y, and Z and wondering why you're not keeping up. I'm so sorry about that, putting that on you. The truth of the matter is, I made changes. Now, I'm not apologizing what I'm into. I'm just apologizing that I blamed you for it. You're just still you. But I got to tell you, I'm making changes. And this isn't going to stop. This is me. It's not a fad. It's not just like I'm suddenly into a new restaurant and I'll probably get over that in a few months or years. No, this is me. I'm really into this, and that's not going to change. What do you think about that? You can ask them, and they may say, oh, well, no way. I didn't know you were seriously that into it. Or your parents or your children might say, we didn't know you're going to be that into it. We thought you were going to come back to our tradition or our beliefs. And you can say, I'm clear that I'm not going to. Can you still love me and respect me? They may say no. Be ready to take the hit. Be ready. Don't flip out. Don't blame them. You made changes. If you don't believe in those changes, go back to the other way. But if you believe in them, why should you change for them? That's why one of the things, one of the meanings to Jesus saying, blessed are you who are persecuted for my name's sake. When you commit to the spiritual path and to Christ consciousness, you might put up with some crap here and there. But he's saying, blessed are you that you made the right decision. And he's saying, and people before you were persecuted. It's not new. You're not the only one, and you're not a victim. It's going to happen again, and so on. So I'm just about done, and I'm just going to start wrapping it up here. But keep this in mind in all your relations. Be careful of blaming, because a lot of times we're putting images and structures or molds around people, boxes around people. And when they don't live up to it, we kind of get upset. And I know this doesn't apply to all circumstances you've been through, but just see that it applies to a lot of them. And then let people off the hook. Move out of the false versions of trust and get to real versions of trust, which means the trustworthy parts of people and only what they can warrant or handle. Be responsible. So all that said, I pray it's made sense, but like I said, also be aware that there's going to be times when you can use these kinds of tools to put a relationship to the test to see if it's real. For me, that's just something I do, now and then. If it just seems like, if I had somebody I was working with in some business relationship and I found that they were constantly doubting my integrity, let's say, I might push it a little bit, say and do some things to see where they're at. Testing it in a good way, like asking questions. But at some point, I might go a little further just to see if they're going to bail. Because when a person's already decided they can't trust you, or whatever else the issue is that they get locked into, a lot of times that means it's over anyway. So be careful not to get yourself into relationships where you're kind of hanging on to something that's dead. It just doesn't do a lot of good when a person, I understand when a person's just recently looks like they passed away, you try CPR. That's reasonable. If they've been dead for 3 weeks, it just doesn't seem really smart in all kinds of wicked ways. You might want to give it up. So when a relationship is done and you're sitting there trying to do CPR on the thing, you can sit and blame them. But if you see a good counselor, they'll probably tell you, why are you, doing CPR in a dead relationship? They'll probably call you out on it. But they shouldn't be leaving me. They shouldn't be done with me. Yeah, but they are. And that's been very clear. They didn't say no, but every action has already told us this relationship's done. So just common sense things like that, guys. So be careful. Be advised. Open your eyes. Yes, be as wise as serpents and as gentle as doves. Be loving and tactful, but be awake so that you're not living lies and living things that aren't even realities. Be honest. If you get married, you do the vow, and I promise to, well, guess what? Out of all the people, if there's 100 people, for every 100 that say, I swear, sickness and in health, this and that and the other, rich and poor, not even 90 people live up to that. Yeah, only half of them get divorced, which is going to be a breaking of that promise, half or more. But others, while they're still married, are still not keeping those vows. They're drifting, even if it's in their imagination. They look at other people and they drift and so on. It's better to just say, you know what, I'm going to just do my best. Here's where I'm at. I do enjoy you. I do love you. That's true. And I can't swear that I'm not going to do this and that and the other as well. I don't know. That's not my intention, but this is who I am. This is what I am. I can only promise this. I think it's so much more honest, but I don't think most people are going to want to do that because some people, believe it or not, there's a little agenda behind that thing, wedding or whatever else you're going to call your contract. There's a little bit of an agenda going on, which is, I want to hear you promise me these words because that's what's going to make me feel safe. I'm going to trust because you told me you would do this, this, this till death do us part. The only problem is it's not likely, based on ratio and studies, that you're even going to be able to do that. So why don't they bring out the studies while you're on the stage of the church and say, based on studies, there's only a small chance of this, but is your intention to do this? Now, I know that's silly because a lot of people are going to say, well, who would do it? Right, exactly. So don't get into false or ridiculous or unrealistic relations, and don't put them on other people. It's so much nicer just to go, oh my God, I'm going to choose, Like I can say, I'm not in a committed monogamous relationship. If you're in a relationship, you can say those words if you're not committed. But if you are committed, then act committed. But if you're not going to be able to act committed, then come out and just say, I'm not going to be able to do that part. Or even if I suspect that I can't. It's better to say, I can just tell that I have weaknesses in that area and I'll work on it. Or that it's just not my thing. Whatever it is. Be honest and clear about it. And I've, in my relationships, in my life, I'm very grateful that I've experienced partnership and marriage and intimate friends, affectionate friends, which is different from intimate friends by my definition. I've had where it's just been a couple of primary relations like that, and then I've had long-term primary relationship with a person. It's varied, and I feel good about all of them, successful in all of them, but I don't think I could have said that I feel good and successful about all of them if I would have allowed myself to project something that wasn't true, or them to project something that wasn't true. I did my best to really get honesty and clarity from all of us involved, whomever, at whatever time. Even times when I've just been on my own and doing my own thing and without intimacy and relations. So it's just the honesty, man, the clarity. Remember, this word trust is part of relationship and part of love. But if you want to be trusted, it helps when you're clear and honest. And I'm not saying the old words brutally honest. If I've done something and it might hurt a person, I might do the work inside. I may not need to spill my guts about, that person. If I'm married to someone and we have children, I'm not the type to, at some point I'm going to tell my children all the things I didn't like about their mother or father if we got divorced or something. Not my thing at all. I will manage that stuff inside and work it inside. I do not need to spill it out on anybody or cause harm. If your honesty is causing, and here's the key word, unnecessary harm, then you need to ask yourself, really, is this love and trust and so on, and honesty? Sometimes we're being vindictive or venting or spilling over or whatever, boiling over, just be careful. Be honest with yourself. And, if something's not working out, do what you can. Do what you can to make it work. And if I've done what I can, then, and I've said this, many, many times, if I know I've done what I can, then I can more clearly, lovingly, honestly make a choice that's different. And I feel good about it because I know I've done what I could. Everything's so beautiful. Everything's so clear. I have friends that, in my life, I've had friends that I think that maybe they loved me as a friend, but one of the things they liked maybe about me, why they could feel like they could love me, is because they could trust me, because it's almost impossible that I would have tried to cause them harm, even if accidentally I did. It's kind of cool when you can create people in your life that would not likely cause you harm. You know what's going to happen? You're going to drop into it. You're going to actually allow yourself to trust more. And it's not just because you're a trusting person. The person gave you reason to trust by saying, I'm trustworthy. I'm going to be as honest as possible. So don't just blame people for not being more trustworthy. Give them more reasons to trust, but without an agenda that if it doesn't work out, don't blame them for it. You just do your best to give them a reason to trust. And if you only want to give them a little bit of a reason so you don't get hurt too much if they blow it, then give them a little reason. But do something to move in that direction. All right? I pray this has made sense and that it's helped you in some way. And if not, you can ask further questions and I'll try to cover these things in further events and presentations. God bless you all and many blessings to you in every way. I pray for you to experience the love, the peace, the joy, the healing, and the abundance of God in every way. It's God's will that you do, so why not? Thank you so much. Peace be with you.